to make fried dumplings. Some countries call it bakes, some call it Johnny cakes, but I'm making fried dumplings and you can call it whatever you want. So I'm using about a cup of flour and then adding a bit of salt, then adding a spoonful of sugar, stir that all through, and then add water. You're really adding just enough water to make it into a soft, doughy consistency. If it gets too soft, you're going to need to add flour. And the flour I'm using, by the way, is self-raising flour. So I'm adding a bit more flour on there and a bit more flour, a bit of flour on the plate. That's where I'm going to be making up the dumplings, and then leaving them until we're ready to fry them. I tend to make dumplings and fry them straight away. Some people make the dough and then they leave it for half an hour or an hour. I don't. I like things nice and quick. In and out of the kitchen, because as you will see, this is quite a messy task. And I don't want to have my hands in dough for hours on end. Alright, so it's got to a consistency I want to use now. And notice what I did there. If it was too soft, I added some more flour. And then so far, I haven't touched the flour. I'm just using a fork to stir it. But I'm going to need to get my hands in it. So for that, I wash my hands an extra time. I did wash my hands before, but I'm going to wash it again because my hands are going to be all over this dough. Right, so I've washed and wiped my hands and dried it. And I'm going to take a small bit of dough at a time. But let's squeeze it all together first, so we get it in a consistent consistency. Right, so I don't like to handle the dough too much. Some people will be kneading till Christmas. I'm not one of those persons. Just enough. And notice I'm doing it with one hand, but some people do roll it around and get both hands a mess. You can make them small, you can make them big, it's up to you. The smaller they are, the quicker they cook. There's some people that do giant big dumplings that you can practically stone somebody with and knock them out. I'm not one of those. But I suppose they're handy if you're making a dumpling sandwich. If you want to open it and put things like saltfish or curry mutton inside, then yeah, I suppose a big one is good for that kind of thing. But I like them small, crispy, and just slightly round. Doesn't have to be perfect. Try not to make the flour too doughy though, because otherwise your dumplings are going to be tough. Actually, there is another way that you can make your dumplings lighter, by the way. You can actually fold in or rub in margarine with the flour mix before you add water. Look like you're making a pastry. And that tends to make the dumpling lighter, but it's also a bit more oily because obviously we're going to fry it and you put butter in it. So yeah, take that into consideration when you're deciding what to do. Alright, so we've got some dumplings here. And some people will knead them until they're so smooth. But you know, when it rises, it's not going to be that smooth. So, yeah, there is that consideration. And my idea when I do these, by the way, is to make sure that within 3 to 5 minutes I've done all the dumplings. Yeah, so the rest of the time is spent frying it. Frying it takes about probably 3 or 4 minutes on each side, and you fry it until it's kind of golden brown. Not dark brown, because then that's burning it, but golden brown. And notice I'm using the flour that I put on the plate as a kind of dusting mechanism. If there isn't enough flour, then you have to pour some more out from the bag. But I've just about got enough. Okay, so now I'm going to start frying them.
Caribbean Classics Cuisine.
Okay, so now we're going to fry the dumplings. So I put some oil in the pot and let it heat up. Right, so I put one in just to test it, see if it's hot enough. I like to see the bubbles around it once it's put in the oil, but it's not bubbling that much, so I'll give it a few more minutes before I put the rest in. If you put it in too early, then the oil will just soak in and it's basically becoming an oil sponge instead of cooking. So I'm just going to wait a little while and it heats up a bit more. Okay, so it's now bubbling all around now, so I'm going to add the rest. will get bigger as it cooks, so just put in enough till it fills the bottom, but don't let them overlap because they will get bigger. Well, it's cooking nicely. It'll be another 2 minutes or so before it starts to go golden brown at the edges, and that's when you turn it. Once you see the colours start to turn around the outside on the circumference of the dumpling. So it's a very light golden brown, so I'm turning it now. Really nice colour. Right, I'm getting another plate in which I'm going to put 2 paper towels, and this will soak up the oil once the dumplings are finished. Right, let me just check, see if the colour is the same as the other side. Yeah, we're getting there. And then if you like, you can turn it for 1 more minute on the first side, just to check that the dumpling is cooked right through. So that's what I'm doing now. 1 more minute on the first side, just to ensure the dumpling is cooked right through. If you wanted to do these even quicker without standing over the fire, You could cook it for 1 minute on both sides and then just put it in the oven, and then the oven will finish it off. Okay, so I'm going to take it out. And by the way, if you wanted to check to see if it was cooked, if you put your fork in and your fork comes out clean, then you know it's cooked. If it came out with a whole load of dough on it, then leave it in for longer because it's not cooked. Right, I'm just finishing these off. Cook is clean, by the way. Cook will get cleaned after every dish. Okay. I'm turning the fire down now because this is the second batch and the oil will be much hotter than the first batch. So I don't want it to burn or to cook too quickly. Yeah, see, I love the golden brown look here. And you are seeing this in real time, right? I haven't sped anything along. So you will see it took about 6 or 7 minutes or so to cook the dumplings, and probably about 10 minutes initially to do the dough. Right, so basically you've got a 20-minute meal that you can, from what I've made here, this will last a few days, 2 or 3 days or so. You can use it instead of rice or instead of potatoes with any meal that you have. You can also use it as a substitute to bread. To be fair, I have been known to do dumplings in 10 minutes. I like to be a very efficient cook, seriously, I don't have all day. Just checking to make sure it's not burning on the other side. Please don't put these in and wander off and like, oh yeah, I've got 5 minutes. You'll come back and make burnt dumplings, which aren't very nice. And you have to throw them away. You should never leave hot oil unattended anyway. It's not very safe. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over once more. And these are more or less done. Just leave it for a minute there. You can have these with fried egg and beans. You can have them with hake and saltfish. That's quite a favourite for the Jamaicans. Fried dumpling with hake and saltfish, or dumpling and saltfish with a dumpling sandwich. You could cut these in two and put some saltfish, seasoned saltfish inside. Very lovely meal, very nice. Great for lunch or a snack at any time, or even for dinner with a salad at the side. Got to balance out this dough and this fat. Okay, taking out the dumplings now. Alright, so we're done.